recorded. Okay, welcome to our session tonight. Nova Systemic are running the Inkscape 2 or Introduction to Inkscape 2 session. We are continuing on from where we left off on a couple of weeks ago for some of you and maybe last week for others. My name is Tim Vaughan and I'm here to assist you tonight. All right. We'll begin in about a minute or so, or maybe even less. So if you have Inkscape launched, we're gonna get underway. I have a couple of more, well, a lot of more people due to attend, so I may have to toggle between accepting or those people into the room as I go through this stuff. But again, I have several activities for you to do tonight. You will get a copy of the presentation afterwards, and the session will be recorded and is on our YouTube page. Please feel free to unmute and ask a question, or go to the chat session and put in a question there. I'll try and get to them as much as I can. Obviously, I'm trying to demonstrate and show stuff on the screen, but if you don't get your question asked, maybe give a thumbs up or maybe the waving sign, and I will try and get to your question in the chat sections. All right. I don't have any co-hosts tonight, so it's just me. So I'll try and get them as best I can when I can. The most important thing is we're trying to get you to understand it, to draw it, and to do it as best you can. Again, it'll take about 45 minutes. If it takes longer, I'm here. I'll be here for an extra 15 minutes after that, so I can help you get the stuff drawn or help you with any questions you have and explain what's going on. We will have session 3 as a free session as well. We changed that, so it's on our website as a free session. So session 3 will be free as well. We were going to have two session 3 and session 4 as being charged sessions, paid sessions, but there will be session 3 will be free now. All right, Anish is coming in, one more person in, and then I'm going to get going. All right. Okay, share screen. All right, so our session tonight, Introduction to Inkscape 2. All right, so this is building off of the back of Inkscape 1. Hopefully everybody were able to go through the commands. Again, just a very, very quick one-slide review of what we did, 6 commands in Inkscape 1. All right, so with zoom, drawing a square rectangle, the selection tool, just showing how to save the item, the document properties, how to alter our sheet size or whatever we need to do with that, and then the circle, the arc, and the ellipse tool. So we draw those shapes. And again, I'm going to presume that everybody has able to use those tools. So we're going to move on accordingly. And if you can't, and something is happening as a result, please let me know and I'll move on. All right. If anything happens with the power outage, we had a power outage last weekend in one of the sessions. If it does happen, I will restart it as soon as I can. So if anything does occur during the session, just be patient and I'll get back up again. Likewise, if any of you get kicked out, just put yourself into the waiting room and I'll accept you in. Okay, first session today. So we're going to go through a couple of new commands. So the idea with this is I'll introduce you a few more new commands again today. Probably, I can't actually remember how many sessions we have, but there will be 5 or 6 new commands today, and you will then build on those again. So we're going to utilize those and the other commands we've used. So the first one we're going to use is fill and stroke. Now the fill and stroke command basically changes the color and the thickness of the lines. And obviously in this case, it's going to be shapes. So if we decide to change it, if we draw a square, we can make the thickness of the line of the outside of the square, we can make it a certain thickness, and we can make the inside color of the square another color change as well. So we can change the color of the line on the outside, we can change the color of the line on the inside, and we can change the thickness of the line on the outside. So we're going to go through some of those. All right. And the methods of getting to it, click on the top ribbon and select object. It shows it there on the top, and then click fill and stroke, or press the shift and control and F key on the keyboard. Again, shortcuts, if you wish to do that, that's a personal choice. I will be constantly clicking on, as you can see, my little mouse here has the yellow star on the end of it. So I will be showing you where that is for Inkscape. So with our Inkscape object at the top, and there's the fill and stroke. All right, so that's where it will be. All right, so our first assignment is we're going to do and draw this shape. So as you can see, I've got a square, a rectangle, a circle, and an ellipse. So you should be able to draw those commands. I'm not going to go back over those. If you can't draw those, you know, you probably need to take Inkscape 1 again. All right. I know some people were trying to do Inkscape 2 straight off the bat. So if you are doing that and you're not able to draw those basic shapes, you're probably going to get a little bit lost tonight. So drawing a shape, the blue shape, and then we're going to click on the fill and stroke. So I'm going to do those as well at the same time. So you can go ahead and click them and select them, draw those shapes first, and then we can alter the colors afterwards. So I'm going to do that as well at the same time right now, but this is what we're aiming for. And again, I'm not too set on the colors. I've got a blue square and a red fill line on the outside, yellow and green. You can choose whatever colors you wish. This is just the change of tone from kind of dark purple to light purple. You know, so you can work on that. If we're able to work on it in time, that's awesome. It's great. We'll do it. So this is basic shapes and just changing colors to whatever colors you want. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but we'll work from there. All right, Inkscape. So I'm going to draw a basic square shape. So mine is blue. And you can click on, again, there's several different ways of doing it. I'm going to just move this box right here. I'm going to click on object path, fill and stroke. I got to select my object first. There's my object path, fill and stroke. And then it shows up the fill and stroke menus over on my side here, the popular menu. It's over on the right-hand side, or it's down at the bottom as well. So one of the things is down in the bottom left-hand corner. Another one, again, for popular people using it, for professionals using this all the time, or Adobe Illustrator. They're shortcut commands that people use. For beginners that are using it for the first time, you know, it's not that important. Sorry, I'm having to move my screen here with people. So to explain what this is, the top left-hand corner here, we've got fill and then stroke paint and stroke style. So the fill button just decides on the color. That's a fill of the shape. And in this case, we've got blue. And if you click on any point in the square or the lines here, you can change the colors to be whatever color you want. And we did this briefly the last day. We touched on it. So you can choose whatever color you want. These things we didn't touch on, the other two. So it's the stroke paint, which is here. And then you can decide what the color is on the outside by selecting one of these. So if you rest your mouse on it, it tells you what it is, the flat color. So you can choose a color for the outside. I have a kind of a pale pink shade at the moment. So if I want to put a blue color on the outside, I'm not sure if you can see that very well, but we'll change the thickness of it shortly. So it's choosing the color. You can choose different ones here. Is there a gradient, which is what I used on one of the ellipses. And then you can use the kind of checkers and meshes and all the different patterns or whatever that are there as well. So it's just playing with either of those. The stroke style then decides on the thickness of the line first, how thick I want it. Right, so if I want that, it's 0.265 millimeters thick right now. So it's right up here in the top corner. So the width or the thickness of my line is 0.265. You can alter that at any time to go millimeters or inches or whatever you want. But I'm going to make it 3 millimeters right now. All right, and my object is showing up. It's 3 millimeter thick border around my square. And I can obviously make that bigger by using the arrows to make it bigger. And I can make it smaller by the decreasing arrows. I can change it to a dash line and I can make it kind of rounded corners. There's other options that are there. Those are there to play around with. You can work on those on your own time. The circle shape we had then was drawing a circle. So this is my one from the last time. If you're stuck on the arc, the last time I drew this was the closed shape up to the top up here. For those people that were here last class will remember this. Click at the top, it changes my ellipse shape. Do my selection tool again. I'm sorry, I have to move this screen out of the way again. I have the screen in the way. So it's looking at the ellipse here. We've got the little shading on it. There's different type shading, the yellow and the green for the circle. And then it's just a kind of choose a pattern for the rectangle. So go ahead and play with those. Put it pretty quickly. We'll give you a minute or two to do it, and I'll come back to it. So you can save it as assignment 1 if you wish. Inkscape, you know, I2, assignment 1, A1, I2, A1, something like that, whatever you want to call it. Save it somewhere, and you can always come back to it later if necessary. I'm just going to put up a poll here so I have an idea, to have some kind of an idea when people are finished with it. So if you're finished with it, you can just click yes. There's no need to click no if you haven't got it done yet. Just go ahead and practice. All right. If you are finished with it, you can look at the commands that I had shown here on the fill box. I'm sorry, having to move all these things out of the way. Just use some of these commands here: the join, the cap, the order. You can look at some of those and where they go and what they do, especially if you're finished. We've got half the people finished it at the moment, which is fine. Again, no hurry. This is not a race. You will have this PowerPoint presentation. You can go through it at your own pace when we're finished. And if you're able to go through it at the same speed as I'm doing it, that is brilliant. All right. So you can play with those different ones if you have time. Right. And those are the gradients and the patterns. You select the different patterns here. So if I have this pattern here, I can choose a pattern. Choose the different ones, choose the different patterns, go down through the different ones you have there, mesh to identify the different types of meshes you have. The gradients, you can drag the blur, the opacity, you can make the light color, dark color by changing it and dragging it across here, changing the percentage from 100 to 50%. So it's going to be slightly clear, and you can blur it to make it, different images. All right. So I think I have pretty much everybody with that done. Happy with that. Thank you. And if you didn't get it finished, or one person didn't vote on it, and again, I don't know whether people are actually physically doing it or not, so I have no way of knowing if people are working on this. So I'm just going to continue on. All right, so next commands, a couple of new commands. I'm going to add in a few commands now. Now, there's two commands I'm going to add here at this stage: duplicate and clone. Now, it sounds like it's the same thing, but there is a big difference between the two. So duplicate is making a copy of something. All right, it is a copy of one object. All right, I'm just trying to check here. So there's somebody making chats. I'm able to download on the MacBook because they're another option. Arush, what can you need to show me? Sorry, I've just seen the questions right now. I'm not sure what you need to show. So when you specify, can you show it again? Can you just explain to me what it means? If you don't have it downloaded on the MacBook, I can't help you. This was for Inkscape 1. We went through this for Inkscape 1. So you will be able to see that. I'll quickly go through here, drawing a shape. Arush, draw a shape. You go up to the selection tool. So my object is selected, then choose Object Path, Fill and Stroke. And once it pops up the fill and stroke over here in the menu bar, you can then make your choices. So the fill chooses the color of the object, the stroke chooses the border on the outside, and the stroke style is how thick the border is. All right, those are the items. All right, I'm going to move on. Back to our PowerPoint. So back to this, the duplicate and clone. So duplicate makes a copy of something, and the copy will be the same as the original. So if you're drawing a star, it'll make a copy of a star. If you draw a square, it'll make a copy of the square. If you do a clone and you draw the clone, you draw a clone of a circle, it'll make a copy of the circle. If you change the original item you cloned from, all the other clones will change as well. All right, so if you make a modification to one of the items, it will change all of the other clones as well. So if anyone's fans of Star Wars, and my kids certainly are, it's like the clones. If you had one clone made from Boba Fett or whatever, and you changed Boba Fett, then all of the other clones would also make that change as well. All right, so we're going to go through that command. We're going to show you how to use it. So this is the assignment, what we're going to try and do here. You're going to create a new file, assignment 2, and follow the directions here, right? You're going to draw a 75mm square and duplicate it. So it looks like this. So we're going to draw a duplicate of this square. We're going to make an exact square, 75mm, and we're going to duplicate it. We're going to draw a 50mm circle and clone it to make 3 circles. All right? So we're going to change the color of the initial circle and see what happens, or change the size of the initial circle and see what happens. So we can then unlink the clone circles, and we can change the individual circle colors as ways of doing it, but you can modify it. So we're just finding the difference between duplicate and clone. And this would have helped last week for your trees, when you were drawing the trees by the side of the river or the lane or whatever we're working on for the assignments. All right, so in we go to Inkscape. So we're just a reminder again, we're drawing a 75 millimeter square. We're going to duplicate it. We're going to draw a 50 millimeter circle and clone them. All right, so I'm going to go File, New File. I'm going to draw a square. So I click on the square, I move it. I'm just going to do it the old-fashioned way, the same as we were doing last week. Up here on the top, here's my width. All right, I'm going to change it to 75. And I'm going to change my height also to 75. So I've got my square. Now I can move it to be in a place I want to be it. And I'm going to duplicate this first, right? And back to the commands for where we had it here. All right. To duplicate, you're clicking on the edit and then duplicate, or Control D. For clone, it's the same, edit and then choose clone. All right. So they're all on the edit toolbar. So I'm going up here. I have my object is selected. I go up to edit. All right. And I'm going to go to duplicate. Now, it has duplicated, believe it or not. It makes the copy on top of the original. So all I got to do is grab hold of it and move it down. There's my duplicate. All right, if I want to duplicate again, now this one is selected. If I duplicate, it'll duplicate this one, not the one up here. That is not selected. So if I want to make a duplicate of this one, I click on that one and I click duplicate and it'll make another copy. So now I'm going to draw my circle, a 50 millimeter circle. Click on here, draw it. And again, use the selection tool. I'm doing this the basic way. Obviously, you can hold down Shift, and we talked about Control, and dragging across it. We did that in session 1. But if you don't know how to do this, still it's just changing the size. And again, the measurements may be important, may not be important to you right now. All right, 50 by 50. So I have my shape. Okay, and it is selected. So now I'm going to go up to edit and I'm going to choose clone. All right, and then create clone. Now you'll look at here, you'll see there's several options. And some of the other ones we'll talk about later on, but there's create tiled clone, there's unlink clone, and you can guess what these do, right? I mean, it's pretty presumptuous in terms of what you use and the commands are used for. And it's a nice system. So we're going to choose the first one, which is right at the little star shape right here, create clone. So it made a clone of it. Just drag it down. And I'm going to click on my original again. And I'm going to go edit. And I'm going to clone again, create clone. So I've created it and I move it down here. Now I've got 3 shapes, 3 circles. Now my task, I'm going to ask if people have that drawn. Now we will so if you have that drawn, just click yes, those 3 shapes drawn. And the task will be, the task we're going to try and do is this. All right, you're trying to change the colors of the other ones. Now, what we're going to try and do first of all is we're going to change the color of the initial circles. So what happens to the other color? So maybe somebody who has that done, if you change the color of my original, what actually happened? Put it in the chat for me if somebody's there. I'll see if I can get to the chat to see it. Somebody can type it in for me here. So change the color of the original clone, see what happens. So select the original clone, change the color, see what happens. Does anything happen? All right. So when you change it, the others change. They all change. Now, if you want to make the original one bigger, so we have my selection tool is here, just drag it. All right. I'm using the mouse on the end of this and it's not doing a good job. I got my star on it, sorry. I'll just stretch it this way if I can. Stretch that. And the others all stretch as well. Now, if you do that to the original one and the duplicate, it doesn't happen. It does not occur. Now, how do I change it? So if I make my original changes, how do I prevent it from making one change? Say if I've drawn a tree and I've copied it 4 times, how do I make that tree bigger and the other ones if it's growing as if it's growing or something? So again, it's back to the clone command. So I'm going to select this one right here, and I go to edit, and I go to clone, and then I can unlink. So currently my second one, which is here, and my third one, which is here, they're linked to the original. Now I can unlink them, and that will ensure this one is unlinked. So when I go back and select it again, I can change the color to something else. And it's not the same as the original then. I'm allowed to change, or I can do the changes and make the changes. All right. And I can do the same with the third one. I can change the color. All right. So I've got 7 people who are participating done. So I'm going to end the polling on that one. Awesome job. Move on. Okay. So that's that. Now, challenge 3. Here's a task on itself. Now you're going to use the created tiled clones command on the object toolbar. So it's in the same place, edit, clone, and then created tiled clones command. I want you to try and recreate that shape very quickly. I'm not going to show you how to do it. The challenge is, as I said, the assignments I will show you and demonstrate. The challenge, I just give you a little bit of a challenge, and hopefully you're able to rise to the challenge. All right, so we'll give you a chance to do that. Maybe a minute or two. All right, I'm just setting up the poll on that. If you get a chance to do it, if you're able to do it, that'd be brilliant. I know you're all probably dying to ask, but you're too embarrassed to say. Yes, the bow tie that I'm wearing is a wooden bow tie that was actually made on a 3D router machine, and it is completely of wood. So these are just some of the things you can do when you learn how to use the machines. And we will have a course on in a couple of weeks on VCarve or 3D routing as well. So we have a 3D router in the Fab Lab in Manassas, and there will be some training on that. So you will be able to go along to that if you want to learn how to make some weird stuff. All right. So we got a good few people done. That's awesome. And again, if you don't get this done, it's not urgent or crucial that you have it done. We can still progress without it. So it's challenge 1. It's a case of creating the tile clone, so you can make multiple of these. So you can see where that's going to be handy, that you can make a lot of components and parts, and then maybe change the colors of them later on. So it's a very quick way to draw shapes, or draw one complicated shape and make a multiple of copies of it. All right, so that is possible to do. So, all right, one person doesn't have it done. Do you have any questions? The person who doesn't have it done, or maybe they just click no, not yet. But if you haven't got it done, has anybody got a question? If you have, just please unmute yourself, or as I said, just go ahead and put something in the chat. All right, everyone's got it set at the moment. In polling, awesome stuff. All right, next slide. All right, a couple of more commands. Now, the shift command allows you as a user to select multiple items. So if you look back on our very first slide, or the very first assignment, we had a square, a rectangle, a circle, and an ellipse. We could select all of those at the same time, and maybe we could change the color of all of them, or we could group them together so that they would all be a set distance apart, and lock the distances that they are apart, and so on. So we can group all the items or do different things by using the selection tool and shift. So selecting all the items at the same time. My Inkscape here, there's my original one. Say I wanted to select the 2 squares at the same time. My selection tool is selected over here. I click on one, I hold down the shift key, and it selects the other one as well. So I've got both of them selected. So maybe I want to do something with both. So that's the shift key. The text. And the text on as we're going to go on to creating some text now. I'm putting some text in little projects. And again, it's very similar to Word. Any Microsoft Word, any program that involves Word data, word processing, they're kind of similar. There's little bits of differences between them, but they're basically the same program at heart. And this works on exactly the same process. You can click on the text on the top ribbon, or you can press Control Shift and T, and you can use it to alter the size, the font, etc. So there's a lot of selections. There is different types of fonts in here, and not all fonts are used. Maybe you have a particular favorite font in Word that you like using for your signature. I don't know. But if you use that, it may not be available here. But there are a lot of them. Another command, two more commands here. The object raise and lower. Now, we'll discuss that, or if people have questions, I'll try and explain it as best as possible. But they're on the object drop-down menu on the top ribbon, and it's page up or page down, or you can click on the page up or page down keys. So it's raise objects. So if you draw objects, the last object is on the top. So if I draw 4 objects, I drew the circle, the square, the rectangle, and the ellipse. The last one I've drawn will be on top. But what if I don't want it to be on top? I can raise the objects or lower the objects depending on my choice. So I can change the order. So the original order you've drawn them in might not be the order that you wish to have them in now. And then the next command is path union or path difference. I didn't bother writing down there twice. And then again, that's on the top ribbon, path on the top ribbon, and or Control ++ or Control -. And again, they're shown over here. Let me get this box out of the way so you can see it. So the object is here, and its raise and lower is there on the 2 for this. And then down here on the path command, you can see down here is the different ones. Union, difference, there's intersection, exclusion, division, cut path, and so on as well. I just went to the first 2 at the moment. So this is assignment 3 right now. All right. So we're going to draw get this one out of the way. So you're going to draw the shape on the right here. You're going to draw a square first. That's important. Then a circle here in the bottom right, and then an ellipse. So that's the order. I want you to draw the square first, then a circle. The size doesn't really matter. Draw these shapes. And then I want you to go and try and use the raise and lower command to create this. So basically you want to go on the blue square, select the blue square, and then raise it to be higher than, to be at the top. So as you can see, it's above the 2 then. All right. So have a go at that. All right, I'm going to demonstrate that as well because it's on an assignment. And as I said, I demonstrate all of the assignments, the challenges. I try and get you to do the work yourself or try and stretch you a little bit. I'll go File, New. Leave that one there in case we need it again later on. Somebody may have a question. So I'm going to draw a square. Any size doesn't really matter. I'm going to draw a circle. And I'm going to draw an ellipse. I'm going to change the color of the ellipse while I'm at it. All right. So I've got those 3 shapes drawn. Now I want to raise the blue square. So I go to right here. And I go to Object. And I can raise it. So now it's above the circle, but it's still below the ellipse. Because I remember I drew the circle second. So now the circle is on the bottom. The square is in the middle, and the ellipse is on top. All right, if I raise it again, Object, raise, again, it raises it to the top. So now the circle is on the bottom, the ellipse is next, and then the square is on top. Now, for those of you that are doing this already, you probably can see that there's other options. You can raise it to the top. You could have done it in 1 click. All right, so there's always shortcuts to do this, but I'm trying to get the simple explanation so you understand what you're doing or what the commands are for. So you can raise something up if you want to do drawings or multiple levels of drawings. Now, there's another way of doing that, and we'll come to that shortly. But this is the process right now, so it's raising and lowering it. All right, so I'm going to launch the polling on that. Hopefully people got that one done. That one's a pretty easy one. So I expected you'll be able to run through that pretty fast. I hope you can anyway. All right, one person hasn't. All right, awesome. All right, next stage. This is great. Well, I think I'm doing great. I'm not sure. No feedback. Anyway, let's see if there's anybody in the chat here. Anybody have anything they want to ask? Again, I haven't seen the chat. What's going on here? So let me quickly stop share. I'm just going to go back just to check here. It changes all the colors of the circle. It changes. Nobody has anything said. That's okay. So anybody have any question they want to ask or something they want to raise right now? If we have anything, no. Okay, cool. We're just going to continue then. So I'm just going to go back to share screen, get back to where we were. Okay, cool. So next command, layers. Now, this can be difficult for people to understand. And the easiest way I can probably come to explain it to you is if you have a series of sheets of paper. So our letter shaped sheet was 8.5 inches by 11 inches. And if you have 3 or 4 or 5 or infinity number of layers of those sheets on top of each other, you could draw a particular drawing on each layer. Now the layers are invisible other than what you've drawn on it. All right, so you've got a clear sheet of paper with something drawn on it. The next layer has a clear sheet of paper with something else drawn on it, and the other sheet has something clear on it with something else. What they used to use and make cartoons with before. All right, years and years ago, pre the digital age, it was those little flip books where little kids have, and you draw little shapes, and it modifies it a little bit each time, and you flip through it, and you get a little dog moving or running or whatever. So this is the layer command. Now, why am I going through this now? Because it's very handy, very, very useful for using with laser engraving or for organizing your drawings. Yes, it helps that you can raise and lower your work, but sometimes you may not want all of your work to be shown. So if you have a particular drawing or something that you want to show to your client, for example, you can modify it slightly and show it to a different client, or you might have the costings or the sizes or whatever on a sheet, and they may not want to know that. So you can just hide it and you can turn off the layers. So at any stage, you can pull out one layer, pull out one sheet of paper, and it's gone. The client can't see it, but you know it's there. You just turn it off. It's like a switch. So this is your assignment 4 right now, okay? So I want you to set up your sheet. So the command, sorry, I skipped through this. Click on the top ribbon and select a layer, or Control-Shift layer. And you can create or modify layers on your drawing, all right? So they're used for organization, for showing people purposes. Maybe you want some notes on one, some examples of it. And we use it specifically, I use it specifically for laser engraving, where we can have different types of cuts on each layer. So you might want to have a photograph on one layer. You might want to have text on another layer and some shapes or, a border or something on another layer. All right, so that's the process. Assignment 4. And we have about 10 minutes left, so doing good. If we keep at this up, we'll get it done. Set up your sheet to be US letter and landscape. All right, so set up 3 separate layers, and the layers are going to be named text, shapes, and images. Now, for those of you that know you have the intrinsic motivation to do this is a fantastic template to use. So you could save this format as a template and then open the template, and every time you open your drawing, the layers are already set up for you. So you can modify your document properties. You can set and save this as a template. So if you want to do that, I can maybe show you once we finish, but it's a great way to have your drawing set up the way you want it. All right, and if you know you're going to laser engrave and you know you're going to have the text on one layer all the time, the shapes on another layer, and the images on another, it's a great way to be efficient because it saves you having to do it all the time, and you can set the standards on each layer, the colors it's going to be drawn on, etc., etc. All right. So the tasks: create the 3 layers, and then you're going to put the text, assignment 4, on the text layer. And we're going to lock it, and I'm going to demonstrate all this. Draw a square, an ellipse, and a circle on the shapes layer. All right? So you're going to draw anywhere on them at the moment. You're just going to draw them anywhere, and we'll move them around later on. Okay? So I'm going to go back to this. I'm going to draw this right now on the screen. So I'll show you how to do it. But if for those of you that fancy themselves and want to give a go, that's absolutely to be encouraged. So please have a go. All right? So I'll repeat again. You got to name the layers, the text, shapes, images. and then you're going to save it. So you have so you can always modify the copy it or whatever later on. And then we're going to put assignment 4 and then a square, an ellipse, and a circle. All right. So I'm going to Inkscape, going to File, I'm going to New. Hopefully everybody can see, yes, I'm sharing. Okay. I'm going to go to Document Properties, File, Document Properties. All right. This is what we did. It's over here, hidden. Sorry, I got to go to it here. Here it is. US letter and landscape. We did this in Inkscape 1. If you're lost with it, please refer back to the Inkscape 1 version. All right, so I've got it. I can zoom into the whole page. We talked about this as well the last day, the little zoom button up at the top here where the yellow star is, right there. I'm gonna move this screen back with everybody in it. All right, so I got my shape. Now I'm gonna go to the layers command. So we'll go up to layer command up here on the top on the ribbon, click it, and I can create layers. Now I have my shortcut layer shortcut on the right hand side here as well. It comes up quite frequently on the right for me. So I can add layers. All right. So I can call the layers. The bottom layer I can rename and you'll see in the layer toolbar later on. So we're going to call them what did I say? Text and add. I can add another layer. The little toolbar on the side over here, I've got the layers right here. I've got the text layer. So I'm not sure if people can see the shortcut or they were able to see the shortcut. I have it over my menu bar because I use it quite frequently. And as I said, it may have popped up in the middle of the screen for you. If you couldn't find it, it's over on the right-hand side on that little quick, most frequently used toolbar. So if somebody needs me to do that again, please put in the chat, or I can't see the pictures anymore, so raising your hand is not going to work. So I'm going over here. If I want to change the layer name, so text, I can just double click on the layer and change it. I said images, and the plus button gets me another one. Oh, it didn't change this here. Press enter, and this one down here, double click it and press enter. Shapes. So text, images, and shapes. Now I think I said I wanted images to be last. I think I had the order text, shapes, images, so I can drag them up and down to put them in the order I want. With the arrows here, you can move it up or down, raise the current layer up or down. So I've got text, shapes, and images. All right, so I got it set up. Now, I'm just going to show you right here in this corner of the screen. Right here is the little button on the little next to text. I'm just going to look at the text layer. Next to it, there's a little eye. There's a padlock and the name of the layer. The eye makes it visible. If I click the eye, it's going to disappear. And if I click the lock button, it'll lock it and I can't make any changes to the layer. Now, there's nothing on the screen at the moment, so it's going to make no difference to it. But we'll do that later on. So I'm going to put the text on it right now and we'll put some shapes. So I'm going to click and select the text layer. So currently, I'm going to be drawing on the shapes layer because it's selected. So I'm going to select the text layer. So now I'm drawing on the text layer. So over here I can go to my text button. It's on the left-hand side. I'm going to click on the screen and I'm going to call it, I think we said assignment 4. All right. So there it is, assignment 4. Now I can go back over here to my text button. Hang on, let me put on my little star. I go back over here to my text and I'm going to lock that. I don't want anything else on it. So I'm going to click on the lock, and I'm not sure if you can see that. I'm going to zoom into it so you can, or I'm going to put a little light on it. So it's now changed to a yellow padlock, closed padlock, rather than an open padlock in the one down below it in the shapes. All right. So that's what it looks like when it's locked. Now I cannot draw any more on that. I can't delete the assignment. I can't make any changes to that layer while the lock is on. So it's another good thing that you could have. Maybe you have your company name, or you could have your project name or your own name on the corner of each page or something like that. All right. So I'll get out of that. Go back here to shapes. I'm going to select the shapes layer next. So it said, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to draw a square. I'm going to draw a circle. I'm not going to make an exact circle. I'm not going to worry too much about it. And I'm going to draw an ellipse. All right. I'm just going to move them down here like this. So if you have those shapes drawn, I'm just going to move them somewhere like this, like there. All right. Now I'm going to go back over here to the corner of my page, and I'm going to lock the shapes page as well, just to demonstrate right now. You don't necessarily have to do this if you don't want to, but I'm just going to lock it. So right here at the start, I'm going to lock it. So now my shapes layer is locked as well. I can't make any changes to it. Now, if you look up here at the top, I've got the little eye. If I click the eye, hang on, the little eye shape here, I've just turned off, and I'm not sure. Let me do this, see if it works. I've just zoomed in here. If you can see this, it's a closed eye. So on the shapes just below it here, it's an open eye, and above it, it's a closed eye, which means I've just turned off the text layer. I've turned it off. You can't see it. All right. So that works right there. So it's closed it off. And if I want to turn it back on again, I just open the eye. It's there. If I want to turn off the shapes layer, I close that and it's disappeared. Now it's still there, and the list of all your layers are here at all times. They're all there. All right. So you can see where they are. All right. So I'm going to turn them back on again. So this is part of the assignment. It's not all of the assignment. I'm going to go back to the assignment right here, right now. So the assignment was to draw those first, and then the continuation of the assignment. So this is what it looks like. All right, draw a square, an ellipse, and a circle. So this is what we're going to draw. That's the next stage of what we're doing. And actually, I have the different layers. I have them in a different order over here, so I apologize. But you know how to do it. You just move them up and down, raise or lower the levels of the layers or whatever it is here. So you can raise and lower the layers that you wish. Okay, so assignment 4 is to create this shape. All right. So the conclusion of it is to create the shape right here. Now, I've put in some different examples here. So I want you the procedures to do it is click on the selection tool, then select the square, hold the shift key, and select the ellipse as well. All right. And then we're going to use the path difference. All right. So we went on path on the top ribbon and then choose path difference. All right. And then the question I had to you is, what would happen if you selected the ellipse first? So I want you to try that. So do it both ways. You can do undo at the top and try it, see what happens. So does it matter what order you select the objects in? So if you select the first object and then select the second object, say path difference, then undo that and then select the second object, then select the first object and do path difference, what would happen? All right, and then select the square and the circle and then go path union and get this approximate jigsaw shape, right? It's approximately a jigsaw shape. All right. So I'm going to go back and do this. Okay. So the task I had was select the square. Sorry. Oh, I've locked my shape. Sorry. I got to unlock them. I had it unlocked, so it doesn't allow me to do it. Unlock the text or unlock the shapes. I'm going to leave the text locked because I don't want to alter it or be under any by damage it or change it by accident, which could happen. So I'm going to unlock my shapes. So I'm going to select my square, hold down the shift key, select my ellipse, and then I go up to path, and I said path difference. All right, so I'm going to choose difference, and it cuts it out. So I'm going to undo the little undo button right there. And then I'm going to select them again. This time I'm going to select the ellipse first. So ellipse, then the square. And then I go up to path difference. And it does it again. Right? So why is that happening? Anybody can tell me. Maybe in the chat, I'll have a look in a sec. I'm going to go back here up to this other one. Right? And I'm going to go object. I'm going to select both, hit shift, and then I'm going to path, and I'm going to union. All right, so I've got approximately my jigsaw shape. All right, let me do the poll on that. Poll. See if you got that shape drawn. A couple of people have done it. Anybody put in, see if I can get onto the chat here while people are doing that. Polls in my way. Chat, anybody tell me? Did it work out differently for you? Did it, or was it exactly the same? Was it any different? For the ellipse and the square, by selecting the ellipse first. Everybody has it done. That is awesome. Let me finish that. I'm waiting for anybody to answer me in the chat. And we type in. Nobody? Nobody's there? Come on. Nobody? Seriously? I'm trying to guilt trip here, but it's not working. All right, I'm going to leave that. We're going to come back to it because you're going to check this out for me. I'm determined not to see. Let's see it. All right, so challenge 2. We don't have to draw that now. This is a challenge. Oh, I just made my chat too big. Draw the corner piece, this jigsaw piece. So that will be for not now. It will be a challenge for working. If you want to do Inkscape 3 in a couple of weeks, it's going to be on, I think, in 2 weeks. But if you want to do that, have a go at drawing this. Now, I do have some more. I'm just finishing up at this time. And we do have some more commands that I'm gonna leave the session at this. I've done quite a bit on that. So we're gonna leave it at a challenge 2. So to draw that shape. So see if you can draw that shape. And obviously, I'll send on some of these onto you. The next slides, I'll just go through it now as drawing a star and polygon command. I'm not going to do it now. We don't have time. I have some other shapes. So I was drawing some of these shapes here. It's the same thing. And we'll be doing some of these in Inkscape 3, changing the object to path. So we're converting what we've drawn to laser engraving. So this will be part of the Inkscape 3. So we're drawing, the thickness of the lines for the vector cut, the black line and the 0.1 for vectoring and so on. So the different types of lines and showing you how to do that. Using assignment 4, so converting it from the left, what we have a simple line drawing, to a laser engraving ready drawing on the right. I'm not sure if you can see that. It's pretty light. That's because the lines are so thin. So these are the standard size lines, maybe 0.1 millimeters or something like that. This is 0.01 or very, very thin, or 0.1 pt. So there's different thicknesses. So the lines are very light, and that's what it looks like. The other sections then, the steps, step by step, how to do it or how to prepare it or how to get ready to print it. So once you have those objects drawn, you can do that. And obviously we'll be working as well as importing images. So a photograph of a parent or a grandparent or your dog or an object into a drawing, and then you're able to laser engrave that out. The ultimate challenge would be, and we'll use this in Inkscape 3, will be a jigsaw piece. So create 4 different components, 4 different jigsaw puzzle pieces or components, and then make a 36-piece jigsaw puzzle out of a 12-inch square sheet. So you could actually have a photograph of a parent or a family, and you have it printed or photographed or copied onto a piece of cardboard, or and then you can the laser engraver will cut it out as a jigsaw. So there are some examples of what the things to do. That's the end of session 2.